Lawyers for Donald Trump have wrapped up their defense in the former American president's impeachment trial, denying that Trump played any part in inciting the Capitol Hill riots last month. The defense team took just 3 hours to make their case and called the trial a political witch hunt. The Senate will reconvene on Saturday morning when members are expected to vote on whether to convict Trump.
Day 4 of a trial which has an all but guaranteed outcome.
The Senate will convene.
Yet its participants push on. It was time for Donald Trump's legal team to make their defence and lay out why the former president shouldn't be convicted.
The article of impeachment now before the Senate is an unjust and blatantly unconstitutional act of political vengeance.
Their argument focused on freedom of speech, insisting Trump was exercising his First Amendment rights when casting doubt on the election results.
The Constitution and the First Amendment must certainly apply to these impeachment proceedings, and Mr. Trump's speech deserves full protection under the First Amendment.
The defense also showed a 10-minute video of Democrats using the word fight to argue that Trump's words of fight like hell on January 6 did not incite the rioters who attacked the Capitol afterward.
Suddenly, the word fight is off limits? Spare us the hypocrisy and false indignation.
The defense team's statements followed 2 days of arguments by Democrat prosecutors who said Trump set the stage for the violence of January 6. They said he summoned the crowd to Washington and did nothing to stop the rioting, even as it played out on television.
This is about protecting our republic and articulating and defining the standards of presidential conduct. And if you want this to be a standard for totally appropriate presidential conduct going forward, be my guest. But we're headed for a very different kind of country at that point.
Mr. President, in a moment,
the Democrats are unlikely to gain a conviction, as few Republican senators have come out against Trump, who remains popular among Republican voters. Both parties are eager to move to a final vote, which could come as soon as Saturday. But all signs point to it ending as a partisan draw and a second acquittal for Donald Trump.
And for more on this, I'm joined by DW reporter William Bluecroft. William, one thing I'd like to understand, the defense was given 16 hours to make its case, but it took less than 4. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, Democrat House managers, the prosecution in their time also didn't take their entire 16 hours allotted, but they did take more than the 3 or 4 hours that we saw yesterday from the defense. I mean, it basically says that they don't think very highly of this trial. They want to get it over with. They know that the outcome is pretty much assured. They don't have to mount a very strong defense to get Republicans to vote with them and therefore acquit Donald Trump. And also remember, there were repeated shakeups in the Trump legal team, so that probably affected planning and organization and just who was doing what. Really, the effort was very clearly reflected by how poorly they did in that first time around. Even Donald Trump was reported to have been outraged at how weak their original defense was. And you could hear in their much stronger, more muscular defense yesterday, very much with having Donald Trump watching this and many of his supporters in mind when they went through their points.
And how overall, once the defense got going, did their arguments compare to the prosecution's, do you think?
Well, Democrats, the House managers, they laid out a very long, consistent case, not just on January 6th, but in the weeks leading up to it. In fact, all of Donald Trump's term in office, where he repeatedly used rhetoric that was stoking this kind of violence and this kind of anger that we saw erupt on January 6th. And the defense only focused on January 6th, only on that one speech, the fight like hell speech, just before the mob attacked the Capitol. Now, that was part of the article of impeachment that Democrats are arguing that they brought Trump to trial on. But that is not the entirety of their case. And the defense just ignored all of these other points that they were making. They made quite a whataboutism case, drawing a false equivalency between Trump's actions and words and other instances in different contexts of Democrats and liberals doing much the same thing, but in completely different contexts and not not really explaining what that context was. So it was very much a cherry-picked kind of defense that left a lot of people scratching their heads what it was really about.
Okay, well, listen, we're expecting a vote today, largely along party lines. It looks like a foregone conclusion. The Republicans will vote to acquit. Is there anything else to look for?
Yeah, I mean, we know we're unlikely to see 17 Republican senators join Democrats to convict Trump. So the question is, how many will? We know 5 to 6 Republican senators voted to have this trial take place, so we can maybe expect to see 5 or 6 Republican senators vote to convict. It could be more. Will it be 10? Will it be 12? Will it be 8? That will be interesting, the ultimate number, and as well as who is voting to convict. Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate, leader of the Republicans, formerly the leader of the Senate, and a huge enabler of Donald Trump over all these years, has really distanced himself from Donald Trump and has left it very open as to how he's going to vote. It'll be very, very interesting to see if he ultimately votes to convict or not, and then what that means for the Republican Party going forward.
All right, we'll be watching that closely all day. Thank you, William Glucroft, for that insight.